Welcome back to another episode of the free VST Plugins Detective, where I review, test out, and demonstrate various free VSTs. For today, we are doing the Versilian Studios Chamber Orchestra 2 Community Edition, or VSCO2 for short. This is hands down the best free orchestral pack on the internet, period. In terms of the sound quality, the GUI, just everything that comes in with this free VST pack and set, it's unbelievable. Showing you all the instruments, and there's a lot, as you can see. We have the clarinet, bassoon, piano, xylophone, upright one, oboe, harp, marimba, percussion, viola section, violin section, trombone, trumpet, horn, double bass, flute, glockenspiel, cello section, tuba, organ soft, old trombone, piccolo, and the organ. So tons of different instruments, and obviously each one also has different articulation settings. So basically customization settings within that specific instrument. Now, starting off with the GUI, obviously, as you can see down here, this is basically the collection of notes, right? We have the orange is basically the main register for that note, right? If I click a gray one for the clarinet, you're not hearing anything, but then, obviously you can hear it. And then down here is how you basically activate the articulation settings. The one thing I will say about this, and I've said this before and I've done other videos specifically about specific instruments within the set, is that you have to activate these via MIDI, which is very frustrating and annoying because, like, say if I'm drawing in a melody, right? Let's say I just have some MIDI here and I'm like typing some melody. In order to change the articulation setting, I play like a note all the way down here, you know, whatever, I think that is C1 or something like that. So I have to basically put in the note here, but also it's frustrating because, like, say if I'm playing on a keyboard and I and hit one of these notes, it will automatically change the articulation setting and I have to go back and change it again. So I do wish it was more of a setting you change maybe, you know, in here and to configure or something like that. You know, I wish this wasn't a MIDI controlled thing. But anyway, let's jump into it. Obviously, you want to hear how it sounds. Obviously, that's the point of this video. So I'm going to be showing you each instrument and the sound quality behind it. Amazing. And one thing I'll say about a lot of the instruments, as you'll notice, is that I think when it comes to, for example, I know there's like a piano here, and I love the piano, I'll say, but there's a lot of free piano plugins out there. A lot of them are pretty good too. The thing, though, is it's very hard to find, I think, a very good clarinet sound, or bassoon sound, or some of the other ones that we'll get to, because, one, they're just a bit rarer, but two, even the ones that do exist, usually the sound quality is horrible, and the term I like to use is it sounds very Casio keyboardish. As you can tell, the sound quality of this clarinet is unbelievable. Easily the best clarinet sound I've found when it comes to any free VST plugin. And it's cool that not only is it just a clarinet, but you have all these ones that have just amazing sound quality and sound design. So, playing it. Now I'm going to show you all basically the articulations that it has. So. Incredible. Now let's go on to the bassoon. So it takes a second for it to load, and you basically switch between each one. Now, as you can see, the orange section, or basically the collection of playable notes, is lower, obviously, because it's a bassoon. So just keep that in mind. And in addition to, each instrument has different articulation settings. Some of them have more, some of them have less than other ones, right? So you can see, it seems like there's a little bit more articulation for this one. Such a good bassoon one as well. Now, did I just click something? Now going on to the piano. I've done a full video about this one. This is honestly my favorite realistic sounding piano out of any plugin that I've used. Granted, I will say, obviously, if I'm doing a song, do I want to have more of a rock piano feel? Do I want to have a grand piano or an upright piano, or maybe more of a harpsichordy sounding piano, right? So it really depends on what sound quality I want. But also when it comes to just like a piano, if I just want a cliche piano sound, this is hands down my favorite one. And as you can see, obviously it's a full collection of notes, so. Such a good piano sound. There is only one articulation setting, so basically it's the upright piano. incredible. Now we're going on to the xylophone, and again, obviously no different articulation setting, and it's just this register, as you can see. And I do like that because I hate other GUIs that I've used or other free VST plugins where it will show you the full collection of notes, but for some reason you can't play them all. And I'm like, why would you show them all if you can't play them all? To me, I like that here it basically grays out or dims the one that aren't playable, which I like. Then going on to the upright one. So obviously this is a piano, might as well say that. I like those low notes too. Sometimes what you can tell, this is called the approach when it comes to a lot of plugins, is when you play the notes that are typically outside of the main register, right? Certain instruments perform best in a given kind of spectrum. And when you go outside of that, especially when it comes to a plugin, the way those sound, I think, can really show you the quality. So the fact that this low note sounds as good as it does, and then the fact that those two opposing registers both sound incredible is a really good sign, you know what I mean? So let's go to the oboe now. Again, another instrument that I think it's tough to find a really good sound quality. I think this is one that would be good with reverb, actually. And then going obviously with all the articulations. I think I like the vibrato the best, actually. You can't adjust the vibrato like as almost like an LFO. I do wish you could do that because it would be cool to slow it down a little bit. I will say that. And then we have sustain. Going on to the harp. I've actually used this in a bunch of my songs before. I love the sound of this harp. Actually, fun fact, when I was younger, I always wanted to learn how to play the harp. I thought it was just such a cool instrument, but they're extremely expensive. So I was like, I decided to play the saxophone instead. And addition to, I don't think they offer harp in any school. Maybe if there's like some prestigious blah 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 school. But when I was in elementary school, I decided to start with the alto sax. Glad I did, because I think the saxophone, honestly, is the coolest instrument ever. So, little fun fact, I did piano and saxophone, which got me into music. The marimba. Again, this one I actually think just sound a little bit better with reverb. And I've said this in a bunch of other videos. Obviously, I do suggest using maybe like the stock reverb in Ableton or some other reverb plugin. Typically, I usually just don't do this because there's so many settings within the reverb. But if you want something quick, I guess it can work, but we got the percussion now. Now, as you can imagine, when it comes to, and this is very common on a lot of other VST plugin packs and whatnot, when it comes to percussion, as you can imagine, you basically play the, there we go, the note itself. But what's cool about this, as you can see, very, very colorful, right? You can tell right away. So I will say that a lot of plugin packs, one of my pet peeves is that you don't know what each note plays. At least with this one, it tries to give you some direction via the color coordination. Right, so if I'm going to click around it. Right, so each one has a different, basically, percussion or percussive set. I'm just going to go basically up the ladder. I like that one. And then obviously nothing up here. So I will say, obviously, you know, very common when it comes to percussive sets. You just basically click around. But it is cool that they color coordinate it, so it's a little bit more organized, you know. So then we got the violin section next. Oh, excuse me, the viola section. So again, I'm gonna put reverb on it. And then moving up the articulations, we got pizzicato too. Always reminds me of Zelda, that setting. So obviously, you know, the piano forte differences, depending on what you're going for. Then we have the violin. So as you can see too, for violin and both viola, there's the one of them, and then also the section itself. Now, see these section. And you can kind of combine them how you want, or layer them how you want, obviously. I will say the pizzicato, I feel like for the sections, it's because of the way it's layered. I don't know if I'm the biggest fan of this one. Right? It sounds like it's like doing almost like a double hit as opposed to them being perfectly in sync. So I feel like I don't know if I do that setting, being honest. Then we got the trombone. And similar to the clarinet and, you know, the oboe and the bassoon, I feel like finding really good brass instruments like the trumpet and trombone are tough. Very, very tough to find really good quality sounding VST plugins, especially free ones. And now, obviously, onto the trumpet. Just load it. Oh, shoot. So as the trumpet, as you can see, has a lot more articulation sound. It's maybe the most so far that we've seen on an instrument. So I'm going to start with the sustain. See, I like that vibrato a lot, actually. And then we have muted trumpet, right? Get that almost old school. Reminds me of like a New York City reading a newspaper, like the Italian style hat. So two different mute settings. Then we got a horn. Again, continuing along with the brass instruments. the double bass now, showing you all the different instruments. And as you can see, a lot of them are incredible. So now we basically have a basic whited section. And as you can see, it doesn't really play anything because obviously the articulation settings are up here. I do wish this was grayed out, so I don't know why they did that. Unless maybe one of the articulation settings maybe activates it. On the flute, and I love the flute. This easy the best free flute VST plugin. We have staccato, vibrato, and then expressive vibrato. So this is actually a little interesting side note. This is actually my favorite setting when I'm using the flute. I love the expressive vibrato more than the regular vibrato. I said that before, obviously, some of the other instruments. Sometimes I wish I could control the vibrato a little bit, almost like an LFO. And I usually have some reverb on that, so I just love that sound quality. And then I'll turn the reverb off. And then we have sustain. Is there no sustain forte? Oh, there it is. Okay. And piano. Then we go into the glockenspiel. I don't know why I love the name of that instrument. I love the word. And then the cello section. Then tuba, another brass instrument. Again, tough to find a good one. Piano. Then four left, we got the organ soft. So it's cool how they kind of split these up. Essentially, they have these two grayed out too. So you almost notice two different instruments, it seems like. And then the old trombone. This one has a really interesting sound texture. I've done a video about this one as well specifically. And I feel like this one could be useful in a few different cases, but it has this very... yeah. Right. It reminds me, this sounds super weird. There's a level in like GoldenEye 007 that sounds a lot like this. I think it's Statue? Yeah, Statue. I can't remember how the melody goes though. And then staccato. Interesting one, right? I haven't seen that one. And then buzz. So this one, again, I feel like maybe not the best sound quality, but I think that's kind of the point. It's supposed to be that kind of odd, old school sound to it, you know? So it's interesting, this one... Okay, that's 2, I was going to say. And then last, but definitely not least, the organ. Not the soft organ, to be confused. And obviously you can see the grade notes. So that is the Versilian Studios Chamber Orchestra 2 Community Edition. All the instruments, all the articulations.